Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of MSATP TV. If today's show is as exciting as the NCAA basketball March Madness was, we're in for a great time today. So joining us today is Rob Smith with Liscio, and he's here to tell us more about how to operate with teams and how to use channels and share files and different things like that. So I'm excited to hear about it. So Rob, go ahead.
Okay, well, Bill, thanks for setting the bar real nice and low for me there. Normally, it's like you set the expectation low, so it's easy to overcome. So thanks for setting that bar nice and high for me. Yes,
I'll have to work on that.
Yeah, no biggie. Okay, we'll see what we can do here. Okay, well, let's basically hop right into it. If I can go ahead and share my screen, and there we go. Today we're going to be talking about Microsoft Teams and file management, working with your files inside of Teams. Once again, my name is Rob Smith. I currently work at Liscio. I'm head of their technical content, and Liscio is paying me to speak to you guys today about Microsoft 365 because this is something that we believe that you need to learn for two reasons. One, because you and your firm need to learn 365 to better access the tools that you currently have. But in my opinion, more importantly, once you master 365, you can then turn around and make that your biggest revenue niche because guess what? Everybody has 365 and nobody's using it. And once you learn it, you're going to be able to go in and teach your clients and possibly your competitors' clients. So let's get started.
All right.
So today's agenda, we're going to kind of talk about the current state of file management, talk about Teams and SharePoint and how those two relate. We're going to jump right into an Excel example and show you why working with Microsoft products in 365 is better than working on the top. Well, it's actually, you get the best of both worlds. And we're going to show you an example there. And then finally, we'll get into the folder menu and file menu options of other things that you can do besides working inside the file. So let's hop into current management, document management. So Bill, here's some questions that I kind of want to ask you about. How are you currently dealing? I mean, can you access your files at home? Can you access?
I can through the cloud.
You can through the cloud. So, but you have to go in, dial in, and basically get. Can you access the files on your mobile device?
Right. No.
Can you share files with? I mean, when you share a file with somebody else, how are you doing that?
Well, I make a copy of it and send it to you, and then you make whatever edits to it, and then you send it back to me. So now I've got two copies of the same file. And if I worked in it, and you send something back with changes to it, then either yours are going to be overwritten or mine are going to be overwritten.
It's kind of a disaster, isn't it? It really
is.
It really is. And it kind of goes into the next point. How do you work together with others at the same time? It's like you're working on something. I'm waiting for you. You send it back and forth. It's just, whether it's we're emailing it or sneaker netting it or whatever, we can't really work in the file at the same time, can we?
Right. Not at all.
No. And then also, how do you know? I mean, right now, how are you currently letting people know that if there's certain cells or certain things within the folder that need to be adjusted? How are you letting them know exactly what they need to fix? Are you able to do that?
I'm having to write it all out and send an email to somebody or pick up the phone and talk to them on the phone while they're making the changes to it and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's not a convenient method.
And when you open the file, do you have any clue what somebody's changed?
No.
So basically, is this way working for you currently and going forward? What do you think?
Well, since it's the best way that I have, it has to work.
Yes.
But if there's a better way, I'm all for it.
You know what? Let me show you a better way because there is a better way. So just like this phone worked in the time, what would you rather go back to, that rotary phone, or would you rather have an iPhone?
I'd rather have my iPhone. I'll take it any day.
Okay. Well, let's take a look at how we can get that current technology in your hands today. Okay. So we've been talking about Microsoft Teams and all the different tool sets and everything that you get when you have, access to a floor. Because remember, once again, 365 is your building. Each team is a floor. And then on that floor, you have a group of people that have access to that floor, and you have access to a set of workspace and tools. So today we're going to be talking about SharePoint and how SharePoint ties into Teams. And what I want you to think about, because remember, we're talking about a floor and channels or rooms, right? Each floor is going to have its own server. So in your mind, just think of this team that we're going to be having, because we created a little lunch and learn team. And this lunch and learn team has its own floor where me, you, and Walter can talk. So we go to we go to that floor and we can talk about the lunch and learns that we're planning. And on that floor is a little mini server. And that mini server on that floor is called a document library. That's the term that SharePoint uses. Okay.
Okay.
But just think of it as it's the floor server. Okay. And the default name for that is called documents. Okay. Now, if we need, we can actually add additional servers. But for right now, for most cases, one server will be plenty. Okay. So now what are the benefits of going to, because we talked about what the way we're currently doing it. What's the benefits of moving to 365 and going into SharePoint and kind of OneDrive, but really you want to stay in SharePoint because SharePoint is really your team and your staff files. Okay. OneDrive is more personal in nature or individual in nature. You really want to be working in SharePoint as much as you can.
Okay. Well, one of the nice things is SharePoint I've already paid for. And when I use cloud services, I have to pay for my storage on there. Yep. So eventually it's going to start saving me some money.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So as soon as you migrate everything over to SharePoint, guess what? You can get rid of all those other things you're paying for. And you're exactly right. So pretty soon by deleting the other tools, it'll probably pay for 365. And therefore 365 will end up being free.
Right.
So when I talk about online access, you're going to be able to access. Don't think about 365 only being in the cloud. It does have online access, but you're going to be able to work where you want to work, whether it's a browser, whether it's within Teams, whether it's on your mobile device, or whether it's in the File Explorer on your desktop app. 365 allows you to work in all four of those places. So it's just not the cloud. Okay. You can be working on because you like working in your desktop app, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you can work on 365 on your desktop app on your local computer. Okay. So don't worry about 365 being in the cloud. You're going to get the best of both worlds.
Right. Now, let me ask you a question, Rob, while we're talking about the 365 and everything.
Yep.
Can I work both online and offline in Teams and those changes come through once I reconnect my computer to the internet?
Basically, some stuff with Teams is basically going to be, you can kind of work some stuff on Teams if it's kind of on the local computer, but if it is in the cloud and you don't have a local copy, then you're not going to be able to access it. So it's kind of a hybrid. Okay. But generally you're going to want to be, you can work in Teams if you don't have, it's kind of let's discuss that later on the road. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Another benefit, synchronous activity. We're going to both be able to work in the same file at the same time. So I'm going to share it with you. We're going to have it shared and we're going to be able to work on it. And not only that, we're going to be able to follow the changes and track things to do.
Okay.
There's something called metadata tagging. So instead of going in there and basically in File Explorer, you just got basically the name and the date and the size.
Right.
You're going to be able to go in and create custom columns. Maybe you want to go in there and have a column for vendors or customers or maybe a status. So you're going to be able to go in and create custom columns to be able to organize your files in a particular way besides just folder structure. Okay. You can't do that in File Explorer.
Right.
You're also going to be able to automatically get version history. So for example, if you go in there, somebody's made a bunch of changes and you want to go back a level, boom, you can do that. And you're going to be able to create automation. I'm not going to talk about this today, but for example, you can set an alert where if somebody makes a change to a file, you'll immediately get an email that this file has been changed. How about that?
That's nice.
So how does Teams relate to SharePoint? Well, when you go into every channel has a Files tab. That Files tab relates to a folder in that SharePoint server. Okay, so for example, if we create a team called 1040s, so that means we have a floor for 1040s. We go in there and create a channel for every client. So we have a channel or a room for Mike and Carol Brady. We have a 1040 server, okay, and that's called documents. Okay, you can see where that is. Basically, it's kind of that file tab is pointing to documents. Right. And then when you create a channel, it's automatically going to create a folder in your documents root directory for every client that matches up to every channel. Okay. Okay. So then that's where you're going to be able to save all your files for that client. Okay. Okay. Well, how do you get to it? Well, what you're going to basically do is you're going to go to Files, and then if you want to get to SharePoint, you don't have to go to SharePoint, but if you want to kind of look behind, kind of pull the, kind of the pull the curtain to the side and kind of look back into SharePoint, go to Files, go to Open in SharePoint, and then you can actually get into SharePoint and actually see documents, the notebook, files shared with you, and a bunch of other stuff. But here's the thing. You never need to go to SharePoint. You never need to do this. This is all going to be in the background, and you can all do your work from Teams. Okay?
Okay.
But I just want to let you know that you can get to SharePoint right from Teams. Okay?
Okay.
So let's just jump right in and take a look and see exactly what we're talking about. Okay?
Okay.
So what you're going to do is you're going to go in and basically click the new drop down, and you can either click a new folder or a new file. And then when you do, just basically enter the name. Okay. And this is kind of what it looks like on the drop down. Okay.
Okay.
So let's go in and actually do it. Now I've got a couple other slides in here that are going to kind of talk about what we're talking about. But let's just actually see it in live. So for example, right here, we're in the lunchroom floor or lunchroom team. We're in the general channel, which is kind of like the front desk. I'm going to click on the files tab right here. This basically, this right here is pointing to the general channel or the general folder in my documents library. If I click documents right here, I can actually see that I've got a general channel here and a Mike and Carol Brady, because I've kind of just got a little, even though this doesn't really belong to 1040, I'm just kind of messing around here and just kind of created a channel here. So we've got a file, we've basically got a file sitting right there. Okay. But we've got some files sitting right here. To create a file, all I do is go new, and I can go new Excel, new Word, new PowerPoint. Be really careful about OneNote, because we've already got a OneNote notebook set up for the default one. So be very careful before you start adding OneNote files here. But you can come in and add a bunch of different files. So let's go in and just create a new Excel file. Come in, and we'll come in here and say basically test2 file. So this is basically an Excel file right here. As soon as we go in, it looks like Excel, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Now it doesn't have all of the features of Excel desktop, but it's got 90% of them. Okay.
Okay.
Now, if you wanted to open this up in desktop, you see this right here. It says open in desktop app. Click that and it'll actually go in and open up. Let's open it up on my other screen. It's actually going to go in and open up my Excel file right here. It's going to give me a little bit of warning saying enable editing. And right now I'm actually working on that file on my desktop app. If I come in here, basically just enter some information here, right here in D4. I'm going to move it over to the other screen and come back over to my online version here. You can actually see that right there, the information got entered. And you can actually see that on my desktop app, which is not showing on my other screen, I'm actually in D5. So you can actually see where other people are located. So right now, I'm actually in B6 here in Teams. My desktop version, which is on the other screen, which is right here, is actually in D5. So I can so I'm actually in on the desktop and this at the same time. Okay. Now, normally you're not going to do that.
Right.
But you can bring in other people. So for example, in this case right here, I'm going to go back into Teams, go back into here. I'm going to come into the Lunch and Learn Webinars Excel file. Okay. So this Excel file right here, if we come in here, okay, now this right here is we're kind of planning the upcoming weeks on what we're going to be talking about in upcoming weeks. But you're going to see right here that this WM, Walter is actually in, I think, the file right now because he's moving around. So Walter's actually working on this Excel file right now. Now, one thing I just want to talk about, just Excel files in general. You see how this is blue right here and this is black?
Right.
Okay, the reason I do this is just my personal preference. Whenever I make something blue like that, you see how this is kind of a hard-coded number. I actually typed in 210.
Right.
And then C3 is C2 plus 14. So we're basically doing this every 2 weeks, right?
Right.
So instead of typing in these dates, I just went in and said, okay, well, let's go in and go equals C2 plus 14. By making this blue and this black visually, I know what I can change and like type over versus what's dark that I shouldn't type over.
Okay.
So, and if you think about that, and whenever you look at a screen, if it's all black, you don't know what to change, what's the formula, what's not. Visually, to me, this makes it real easy for me to know what's a formula, what I can change, or what I can't. Now, in this case right here, I'm going to ask Walter to basically kind of copy that formula down and basically get the next 2 weeks, put a couple more weeks down. So if you can just kind of go in there and copy that, see, and right there, Walter just copied that down, so he can be sitting there going, okay, well, we can, let's come in here and say Teams you know, and then we're going to talk about, you know, maybe we're going to talk about Microsoft List this week. So right now we're kind of messing around and we don't really know what we're going to talk about. Now, here's one of the quick trip that I noticed right here. You see how this right here is like there's some spaces right there, and this one there isn't.
Right. Visually,
I like to have the space in there, because if you don't have a space in there, it kind of rubs up against everything, right? This is something I just recently learned, but if you come underneath here, there's a little indent button right here. You can actually indent information on a cell, just to kind of give a little bit of spacing between there. So this is it undented, like that.
Okay.
But if instead of having to put spaces to make it a little bit more easy to, you know, a little bit easier to read, just go in here into the indent and just indent it. It doesn't add a extra space. It just gives you a little bit of more visual spacing.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a neat idea.
Yeah.
Because I'm always putting spaces in.
Yeah. Don't put a space. Just indent it, because it does the same thing. And then visually, it just makes it a lot easier to read. Okay.
Right.
So right now we're in Excel, aren't we? But we're better because Walter and I are both working at the same time. Now, on this one right here, I don't know if this is what we're going to want to discuss. Okay, so how do I go through and say, hey, we need to talk about this? Okay, well,
highlight it.
Pardon? I can highlight it.
You can highlight it.
Okay, but what if I did this? I'm going to go into the cell right here, right click, okay, and look, there's two things right here, comment and note. Okay, now, you're like, well, we've had comments, right? In Excel, right? You've maybe used comments before, right?
Right.
The old comments in Excel, okay, are now called notes. So if I come in here, so like underneath here, maybe I want to put a note about what this is here. Right click. Instead of doing a comment, I'm going to do a note and say, this is the topic we will discuss.
Okay.
In the webinar. Okay. So right there, you know, you've got that old school note right there, right? Where I can come in and there's going to be a little red triangle right there saying, hey, there's a comment. So you can kind of hover over it, and it maybe gives a little bit more explanation of what we're actually trying to do with this one right here.
Okay.
Okay. That's the old school comment, now called a note.
Okay.
Well, what's this thing called? A comment right here. New comment. Well, let's try that. If you click new comment, ooh, wait a minute. We've got something going on here. Start a conversation. I can come in here. Okay. Now at Bill, I can't at you, Bill, because I'm a guest, because this is actually your guys' team. But if you were to do this, for example, Walter, could you go in and maybe, I'm going to go in and remove this comment real quick. I'm going to delete that comment. Let me see. I'm going to go in here and okay, there we go. Yeah. So I'm going to put lists right here. Walter, can you go in and add a comment and then basically have Bill, discuss with Bill and at Bill on that one? You could. Okay. In this case right here, new comment, I can come in here and say, need to discuss with Bill and Walter. I can just come in and put that right there. It's going to timestamp it, and it's going to basically give me some options here to either link to it, edit it, resolve the thread, or delete the thread. So right now, I've got a comment on this cell. Walter went in and put a comment there, and he actually added Bill. So now this actually does more information when this actually tags it and kind of does this. So now we actually have two different comments here. Now, where are these resolved? Well, if we come up underneath here, right up here, this little button, you see this little button right up here with this little quote. Right. If you click this, all the comments are going to be listed right down the side. We're going to be able to sit there and follow each one of these issues until they get resolved. So I can come in here and say, what about Microsoft Forms? So I can come through there, do that, and we can actually have a little conversation about this cell right here. I can come underneath here. I'm thinking about, lists, client, client tracking. Okay.
And by the way, I just got an email from Walter Moore about the Lunch and Learn. So I know that he's made a change or entered a comment that's addressed to me.
That's exactly right. So think about this. Right now, look at the level of detail we're coming in, not only to an Excel file, but to a specific cell in Excel file saying, hey, here's exactly what you're going to do, and actually tracking a conversation until this cell is completely resolved. This really brings and tightens all the communication exactly where you need, exactly where you're having to work.
Right.
So we have notes, which are going to be long-term kind of information, what a cell is. Comments are going to be, hey, there's a particular cell that we need to discuss until we figure out what's going to go here. And it's going to be all threaded right across there. And then there's one other thing called conversations. Okay. Comments are internal conversations about particular cells. Okay. Conversations are going to be team-wide conversations about this file in a whole. So if I come in here and click conversation, I can come down here and say, I can go in here and say at lunch and learn. So I'm going to at the team, everybody on the team. Okay? And then I'm going to say this file, let's use this file to plan out the lunch and learns for the summer. Okay. And then I hit enter. Okay. Now where did that go?
I don't know. I just got an email about it though.
Yeah, you did, didn't you? So right inside here, if we come back into here, remember we kind of talked about posts. We're gonna talk about this in an upcoming week and get a little bit more in general. But where did that go? If you actually go into posts, right inside here, this right here basically says a conversation about this right here. So people can come in, Walter can come in here, we can sit there and have a discussion about this entire file in its entirety right here. So we're actually talking about the file with the team.
Okay.
That's
pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that right there. So if we kind of come back here, we've got the old school. Let me see. We've got the old school notes, or the notes, which are the old school comments. And if you right click on one, you can edit, delete it, show, hide it. Or if you want, you can actually convert a note into a comment. So if you have a comment and you're like, well, this should really, or if you have a note that really should be a comment, I'll just convert it and then it'll become a comment. You've got comments, which you can go in there and it's going to be with the purple. Okay. And you can basically talk about a particular cell back and forth until it's resolved. Or, you can just set it up as a reminder to yourself that, hey, you need to fix this. Okay. And then this is where you can basically track all of the different comments to make sure you don't forget to change something. Okay. And then we have conversations, which are basically team-wide communications about that particular file. Okay. So to summarize those three things, notes are how to carry over instructions, basically where to get the information. Comments are internal communication between users to complete the document, and conversations are outside file communication between team members to discuss the overall file. So what I want you to do is kind of take these rules and then apply them specifically for your firm on how you should be communicating with not only Word files, or not only Excel files, but Word files and PowerPoints and any other type of Office document. But you see how now you can really target and get very specific about particular files.
Right.
Okay. Now there's also something called the catch up. So if we go in here and I'm going to come in here, come back over to here. Hey, I'm okay. Now I've been out of the file. Walter, can you go into the lunch and learn Excel file and basically just do a little bit of work on it? Just enter some random cells. It doesn't really matter what you basically do. Okay. So while he's basically sitting there working on it, while I'm not in it, if I come back to the file, I come back into the lunch and learn right there. Okay. Now he's basically put some stuff in there. Well, what the heck's happened? If I come out underneath here and click this little button right here, catch up, it's going to say show changes. I'm going to be able to come in here and see step by step everything that's changed. So right here, I can see that Walter entered in F8 hi Bill, and in F7 he entered hi Rob. So you're going to be able to go through every single change that was made to this Excel file. You can see exactly what happened and when it happened.
Wow.
Try doing that with your current Excel.
Right.
You can't. This, and you can see right there that he's actually entering. Yeah, he's in the process of entering something right there. So in real time, I can actually see what's going on with this Excel file. Okay. Not only can you share this with internal people, okay, you can share this with clients. Okay. Yeah. Join us at the annual convention in Ocean City, Maryland. There you go. So this to me is kind of life-changing in the ability to be able to work together at the same time when we're all in different places. And even if we're in the same building, the ability to be able to work in the same file at the same time is, to me, it's almost kind of like life-changing.
Yeah. It's certainly not your old Lotus 1-2-3 anymore.
No, you're going really old school with the Lotus 1-2-3. Oh, I think I might be able to one-up you. The first one I used was actually VisiCalc. You remember VisiCalc?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, VisiCalc. And I remember when we only had one tab in Lotus. Okay, just one tab.
Right.
We didn't have multiple tabs, so you had to go through and have your different pieces all over there and do the WYSIWYG and say, I want to print out just this one range. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Getting the second tab was life-changing. I mean,
yes, it was.
Moly. I hate to sound like like an old boomer or whatever, but man, this is unbelievable from where we've came from, like one tab VisiCalc, being able to print it, what you see, what you get,
Right.
It's unbelievable how far this has come in just my work career.
Yep.
But
It's
basically
awesome.
that right there is now, okay, basically that kind of took us a little bit longer to kind of go through that. We've got a bunch of other stuff here. We'll probably maybe cover that next time. Kind of going through that different stuff, but just kind of looking at this right here. If we want to close this right here, you can click the little close button right there. Just come right up here and that closes the file.
Oh.
I can basically kind of come back into it again. Okay. If I want to upload some files, I can go in here, upload them. I can drag and drop them. Okay. But pretty much all I have to do is kind of click into the file and start working. One thing that kind of tripped me up a little bit, I always like to, and I don't know why, but if I want to go here and go 1, 2 right here, and I want to basically just do this plus this. Normally what I'll do is go plus this plus that.
Right.
I don't know if you do the habit or if you're in the habit of using equals this plus this.
Right.
You can't do plus this plus this. Okay, you got to start with an equal sign. Okay, so equals F2 plus F3, and then that. So you've got to start with an equals instead of a plus. The plus doesn't basically work there. Okay,
but the auto sum still works. So
the auto sum still works, and that's probably a better thing to do anyway. But a lot of times I'll do plus this plus that. Especially if they're like here and here or something.
Right.
But you have to basically do the equals. Once again, you've got the open in desktop app. Just click this and it'll open it up in your desktop. And then that way you're working on it at the same time. Sometimes if you come into it, if you want to just view something and you don't want to make any changes, down here, do the drop down. Instead of going to editing, just go to view. That way you can view something without accidentally making a change.
Okay.
Okay. And then we've got a couple minutes. Let's just talk about real quick about copying and sharing. Okay. So, and we'll kind of talk about this a little bit more next week. Okay. Or the next, in the next meeting, because sharing is something that's a little bit tricky, but basically when you go in to share a link, okay. Oh, I can't, let me see what's going on here. In this one, because I'm a guest, some things, okay, okay, yeah. Basically, I think there's because I'm a guest, there's some issues with this one right here. But let's go down to real quick with sharing. I just want to bring up the idea of sharing in this meeting. And where is it? So let's just go right up here real quick. Let me just kind of file the share. Right, where's the sharing? Where did it? Okay, basically with sharing. Okay, there's two ways to share. One, you can share the link, okay, which is basically just saying, hey, here's where the file is. So I may share the link, send you a copy of the link, Bill, say, hey, here's where the file is. Please go work on it. Okay, and that is just kind of like a beam me up, Scotty. So it's basically just an instant direct shot to send you right where I want you to go.
Okay.
And then, so normally if you're working within a team, if you copy a link, that's all you're doing is just giving somebody an instant shot or an instant GPS direction, hyperlink right to where they need to go to save them a lot of time for browsing. Okay. The other thing that happens sometimes in a sharing link is that if they don't have access, you can give additional access to somebody that's not on the team. So, for example, right now, Barbara is not a member of this floor yet. The only people in this floor are me, you, and Walter.
Right.
Barbara is in the team in the company, right? But she's not on this floor, so we can give her access just to this one file, even though she's not a member of the floor. Make sense?
Oh, okay.
Or you can give access to somebody outside of the company,
the organization.
Yeah. So sharing, we can do some pretty cool things with sharing. We'll talk about that next time. But just want to kind of whet your flavor on kind of the sharing of what we're going to be able to do. But basically, kind of coming back down to, let me stop sharing my screen. Share, stop screen share. So basically, you see where I'm going with why you should be using 365.
Absolutely. What a powerful tool. And I like it because you can do all the documents. You know, it's not just Excel or whatever. You can bring Word documents in. So you can share letters and correspondence and things like that. So can you scan documents and put them into your SharePoint?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So like if I get a letter in the mail that I want to save, can I, you know, let's just say Mike and Carol Brady, can I scan it in on my computer?
You could actually
save it in Mike and Carol Brady?
Yeah, if you downloaded Office, the Office app or the SharePoint app,
right?
You can actually take a picture of it from your phone and drop it right in SharePoint.
Okay.
So you don't even have to scan it. This right here. I have a scanner, but I haven't used it in 2 years. I just take a picture of it.
Okay.
And there's a feature in here where you can take a picture with Excel and it will OCR a lot of it and drop it onto an Excel file. Yeah. So there's some pretty cool things you can do. But kind of looking back at this, what was the coolest thing about the new things that we showed you today? What were the things you liked the best?
I would say sharing the worksheet among other people at the team so that more than one person can be working it at a time. So it opens up collaboration over an Excel spreadsheet. You know, you and I want to talk about what's on a spreadsheet that you made. We can both be looking at exactly the same thing at the same time.
In real time. Yeah, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Okay, well,
we both have access to it.
Yes. And leave comments and make sure we don't forget to change any cell.
Right.
Okay, well, I think we ran a little over today. I bit off way too much in the PowerPoint. We'll have to continue the rest of the PowerPoint next time. Okay. But I think seeing the power and not being afraid of 365, but embracing all the additional opportunities that you have, working anywhere that you want, being in it at the same time, and then using the new kind of comments and communication tools to make sure that you're as efficient as possible when you're working on any file.
Well, Rob, you certainly lived up to the final game today. Kansas against North Carolina. So you did a great job. Thank you very much.
Okay, see you in a couple weeks. And
all right.
Everybody have a last good week of tax season.
All right, you too. Bye.